Good morning, everybody. We are back and we are continuing to test the Audioquest Jitterbug, and it's such a buggy bug. So I've had people comment that you don't have to use it with the Cobalt. In fact, you should not use it with the Cobalt. And somebody provided a link to an FAQ from Audioquest, and this is what Audioquest says. The question is, do you recommend using Jitterbug with Dragonfly? They respond, we absolutely recommend using Jitterbug with Dragonfly's black and red, both in series with Dragonfly plugged directly into Jitterbug and or in parallel with Jitterbug plugged into a separate USB port with the host computer. However, because some of Jitterbug's filtering is included in Dragonfly Cobalt, a Jitterbug is not necessary and not recommended with mobile devices or when only one USB port is available. When using Cobalt, you can still optimize the digital audio from a computer, car stereo, or other hardware by adding a Jitterbug in parallel only into a different USB port. So essentially, this is the only way I could read this, is when you have a Cobalt, don't plug it into this. No, you don't want to do that because this already has the filtering. But you can still use this as magic powder because you can plug it into another open USB port. Does that kind of make sense? So basically, take this, plug it into another open USB port, plug this into another USB port, and use your headphones into this. Does that make sense to anybody? How does this thing... You know what? Let's not worry about it. Let's just try it. Why not? I have my desktop PC, okay? I don't remember the specs, doesn't matter. It's got USB ports right up here. And I currently have the black label plugged in, but I'm gonna unplug the black label. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a test. Yesterday, we already tested the Cobalt with this thing, but I'm going to do the test anyway. So I'm going to do it with the Cobalt with the headphone only. Are you serious? Ugh. Back to Focal Clear, by the way. Let's make sure that Windows recognizes. Yep, here goes the Audioquest Cobalt. Increase volume to max. I hear nothing, no noise, nothing. I have AIMP here with my FLAC files. When I can play something, I'll decrease the volume a lot. Let's just play something, it doesn't matter what. Don't hear any noise, any distortion, sounds practically normal to me. Then, now, let's just plug in the Jitterbug by itself into a free port right here. I'm going to put it right next to it. There we go. Now, there you go. There's your solution. I hear no difference. With the Jitterbug plugged in, there's not an immediate decrease in noise because there wasn't any noise to begin with. It's not as if now that I have the Jitterbug plugged in, all of a sudden I realize, oh my goodness, I was just listening to static and I didn't realize it before. Donut difference. Absolutely no difference. Nothing. All right, so let's do an actual sound test. Let's go to Castle Beat VHS. And we're going to play Research. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this, and I'm just going to play Research, the song. It's playing now. Volume is about 50%. I don't hear any noise, any distortion. Now I'm going to plug the Jitterbug into the open USB port. What am I supposed to be listening for? There is zero difference. There's literally no difference. Nothing. There's nothing. There is less than nothing. There is absolutely minus nothing. There's nothing. No difference. There's literally no audible difference at all. There's no boost in volume. There's no boost in bass, mids, treble. There's no loss in volume, bass, mids, treble. There's no loss in distortion. There's no loss in noise. There's no loss in jitter. There's nothing. There's nothing. Literally zero. But so I have a USB hub up here. It's dangling here. So what if I plug in the Cobalt into the USB hub? Okay. Now I plugged it into the USB hub. I'm going to unplug this. And let's see. Oops. Gosh. Let's make sure it's actually recognized. It is. And let's start playing the song again. Okay, now I'm going to plug it into the front of here, the Jitterbug. No difference. What if I plug it into the USB port up here? No difference. Literally no difference. It doesn't make any difference. How many times do I have to say no difference before it gets old? That was loud. How many times do I have to say no difference before it finally sinks in that there is no difference with this at all? So, okay, using it with the Cobalt is totally pointless. Don't do it. Audioquest remarks that you can run it in, what is it, parallel? Or is it series? What do they say? Parallel, right. Run it in parallel. But we have the red. So let's try it with the red. Okay, we're going to plug in the red. Plug this in. And just sit here for a second. No noise. I can't hear anything. It's dead silent. I'm playing with the volume here, slider on Windows 10, moving it back and forth to see if I can get any sort of noise. And there's nothing. But let's play a track. Let's go back to Research by Castlebeat, and let's play that. I don't hear any noise. I'll play with the volume slider again. I put up volume maximum on AIMP, so the master volume is being controlled now through Windows 10. I hear no difference. So what, I'm going to run it in parallel. I'm just going to plug it into that free USB port. And let's see if there's a difference. There's no difference at all. Like there's not even a hint of a difference. It's not like, oh, wait, did I hear something? It's not even that because there's nothing there. Nothing. There's literally no audible difference with you putting the USB stick in or taking the USB stick out. There's no difference. There's no skip in the song. There's no beat in the song. There's no, bump in the song. Like it's going, and you plug it in, and then there's a jarring effect, and then everything normalizes. There's nothing like that. Same thing with the reverse. When you yank this thing out of the port, it's not like there's a jarring effect and all of a sudden the noise levels out or the music levels out. It does nothing. It's almost as if the computer's like, I don't know what this thing is. I'm not going to worry about it. That's what, because this thing doesn't show up on Windows 10. So I plug it in, and if we go into my sound devices in Windows 10, I have nothing here. There's nothing here for Windows to recognize. The only thing that's recognized is the red. Okay, so now let's try the other test. Let's try plugging this into the red directly into the Jitterbug. All right, there we go. This is great, right? I mean, look at this thing. You probably can't tell, but this thing is already bowing because of this. I'm trying to put this into normal people words, but this is not reasonable. When you were walking around with something like this is the span of my hand. You have to be so very, very careful around this stuff. You know, if you got a cat and the cat jumps on the table with this thing plugged in like this, you can probably say goodbye to your USB port and this Jitterbug. I'm fairly certain of that. Because cats are evil. All right, so let's restart this song, Research by Castle Beat. And let's see if there's a difference between the combo versus not combo. Here we go. Volume is at 16%. I'm going to increase to 30. So I'm just trying to get a bass line here, try to figure out, get an idea of what the sound is. And here's the drums. It's fairly muted drum track or drum mix. And I hear the electric guitar very clearly. Okay. So let's stop. That was 38 seconds. Unplug. Put this back in. It's recognized. Let's restart this song. I don't hear any difference. It's not as if this adds anything versus the combo. And it's not as if either of these things take anything away by themselves. I hear nothing. I hear no difference. Okay, so some people talk about how it adds this thing can add warmth. In fact, if you go to Dragonfly's website, let's get out of the FAQ because that's total nonsense. Here's what I keep saying Dragonfly and Cobalt. Here's what Audioquest says about their little magic piece of plastic. Is that the result of this is clearer, more compelling sound, music, dialogue, etc. A better audio experience. Whatever that means. I have no idea what that means. And further up, at the end of their first paragraph on their website, this is what they say. The noise and interference has many negative effects. Noise-compromised digital circuitry increases jitter and packet errors, resulting in distortion that causes a comparatively flat and irritating sound. Noise-compromised analog circuitry also damages the sound's depth, warmth, and resolution. Yes and no. Yes and no. When you're transferring digital data, you're going to invariably have a loss of data. That is, it's very, there's something called bit perfect, and Even bit perfect isn't perfect, because the way that numbers work is that through a series, as your digital information is being transferred from your source, which is the computer, to something else, let's say, an external DAC, there is going to be some packet error in the transmission. It could be because you have a faulty cable. It could be because you have a faulty USB port. It could be because the way that it's encoded inside your computer, the file itself, is faulty. It's not properly encoded. It could be because of the DAC. It could be a number of other factors, including environmental factors, that will create a loss of some information. But that loss of some information doesn't mean that you need this. That's not how it works. I'll give you a concrete example. If you think of MQA, Master Quality Authenticated, that Tidal uses, basically what they do is they take a higher resolution recording and they get rid of all the inaudible frequencies, all the frequencies that your human ears cannot hear. They then sort of compress essentially what's left into a smaller packet and a lower resolution file, and then they send it off into the internet. An MQA compatible device has a either decoding software or chip inside that device. So when you play that MQA file on your player, your device that has MQA compatibility, it takes that MQA file, it reads it and says, here's the algorithm, this is what I need to do to it, and it unpackages that lower resolution compression, essentially a compression, and it turns it into a higher resolution compression. But that compression is still missing all that inaudible data that MQA deleted, essentially, when it first compressed the music into MQA. Does that kind of make sense? Now, MQA is not really compression format. I'm just trying to, it's very complicated for me. So if it's 96 kilohertz at 24 bits and it's high resolution, MQA will delete some of the inaudible stuff, fold it back down into 44.1 and 16-bit 44.1, and then send it. And your MQA player comes up and says, okay, so this is supposed to be 24 at 96. I'll take this and unpackage it, and then you get played back. You're still missing a lot of information because of the whole process of MQA. But you still get the music, right? There is a slight loss of detail. Absolutely, there is a slight loss of detail. But does that slight loss of detail mean that you lose every form of warmth and depth and resolution? No, that's not, no. If you have a great loss of detail, a considerable amount of loss of numbers, of digits, then yes, that statement is true then. But missing a little bit is just part of the game. That's the part of the algorithm. That's part of the compression. It happens. That's totally normal. So this is a little misleading because it makes you think that if you plug this thing into your computer, you're not going to lose packets. You will still lose packets. You'll still lose information because there's so many other factors involved with it. The other thing is that the statement from Audioquest makes it sound as if when you use this little device, you should get more warmth, more resolution, more depth. That's the way I read it. I'm not adding words. Those are the words written on their website. And they say the result is clearer, more compelling music and dialogue, better audio experience. A more vague term, more vague information could not have been provided. So here's what they say a little further down. Dual discrete noise dissipation circuits reduces the noise and rigging that plague both the data and power lines of USB ports, measurably reduces jitter, unwanted noise currents, and parasitic resonances. Parasitic resonances, right. Packet errors are sometimes eliminated completely, improves dynamic contrast, warmth, and resolution. Remember what I said? Packet errors are sometimes eliminated completely. No, they're not. No, they're not. Improves dynamic contrast, warmth, and resolution. Oh, so now they put it into direct terms. This will improve dynamic contrast, warmth, and resolution. Reduces the noise and ringing that plague both the data and power lines of USB ports. It doesn't say some of the USB ports. It doesn't say just bad USB ports. It says USB ports. That means all of them. Every single one that has ever been created. So you should be able to tell a difference with this device no matter what USB port that you're using. Whether you just bought your computer 2 months ago, or you've had your computer since 2013, or you got a hand-me-down computer from your big brother. Shouldn't matter. Shouldn't matter. According to Audioquest, all are treated the same. So when I'm telling you that there is no audible difference whatsoever, it's because I'm using their definition. I'm looking for contrast. I'm looking for a difference of any sort. Warmth, resolution, detail, whatever. I don't care what it is. Volume, I don't care. Show me a difference, any difference. I will take any difference. And I can't hear it. Use it in parallel. I've used it in parallel. Use it in series. I've used it in series. How else do you want me to use? Do you want me to use it, put this on a different computer altogether? Is that the next step? Is that what an audiophile is going to say? Use this on a different computer that you're not even listening on. That will help. How goddamn absurd is that? It's silly. Totally absurd. I don't know what other tests I can do. So let's plug this, let's plug this thing back in. And let's keep playing the song. There's just no difference at all. No difference. Doesn't add warmth, doesn't add detail, doesn't add resolution, it does nothing. It doesn't do anything. It does nothing. Just to show you that I'm a fair-minded person, I've had the black label just sitting here, and I was trying to use this first. I was going to use this first, and I didn't. How's that for a statement? All right, this is plugged in, and I've got iFi. Recognized it perfectly. It's on. You can see the green light. Can you? I'm going to turn the volume up to max. Volume on Windows 10 is 100%. I hear no difference. There's no noise at all. There's nothing. I hear nothing. Now, is it possible that there's some innate noise somewhere in here? Yes, absolutely. I leave that option open. But it must be at such a frequency that I can't hear it. Now, you could say, I have terrible ears. That's certainly, I guess that's possible. I have abnormal ears. If that makes you feel any better as a pseudo audiophile to blame other people for the fact that your buying decision was a poor one. Sure, blame somebody else. That's how life works. Okay, so let's just play research again, and this time on the black label. And I have 3D effect is not on, X-Base is off, the power mode is at normal, there's no filter, IE match is off. So this is just bare bones, nothing. Now, going through the A and B test between the red and the iFi has a boosted bass. It sounds warmer naturally. The red has a more flat tonality to it. So I know that for a fact. That's why we play this without the Jitterbug first, so you get an idea. So there is a slight boost in the bass with the iFi, and there's a bit more warmth, longer resolution, resonance in the bass frequency. It lasts a little bit longer than it did on the red. But let's listen for another few seconds, and then we're going to try it with this. I'm going to plug this into the free USB port. Now it's parallel. No difference. No difference when it's out. No difference when it's in. Nothing. Let me plug it into the USB hub. No difference with it in the USB hub. No difference with it out for the USB hub. Okay, so let's do the series now. Okay, and here we go. So it is passing the signal directly to the iFi, so it does do that. Doesn't sound any less noisy to me. The bass sounds exactly the same as it did with just the iFi. I don't hear any boosted bass. I don't have any more warmth. The guitar sounds exactly the same amount of lingering resolution or resonance. I keep saying resolution. The tonality of the electric guitar is exactly the same as with just the iFi. The bass has exactly the same response as with the iFi. Soundstage, exactly the same. I don't get any more detail with the series. I don't get any less detail, but I don't get any more detail. I hear nothing, no difference. Let's go to a different song real quick. Let's do Churches and let's do Never Ending Circles. Ah, it's a little loud. This is currently in the series. So now what we're going to do is just listen for a few seconds, then take the series off and just plug in the iFi to see if there's an addition of any noise or a loss of any detail. Okay. Now it's just the iFi, and let's go again. Tonality sounds exactly the same. Her voice is exactly the same. I haven't lost any detail when I took this out, the Jitterbug out. I didn't get any added noise or jitter or anything like that. I hear nothing, guys. I hear no difference. Because there is no difference. There's no difference to be had. You know, this is really frustrating because you become a target for certain people, types of people, who claim that you're not listening right. And that's not the way things work. It's not that I'm not listening right. It's that I am trying to listen objectively for any difference. And I can't hear it. There is no difference there. Whatever difference you might hear is totally dependent upon whether or not you actually have a very noisy USB port, in which case this little bug might be of some benefit. I don't rule out that possibility. In fact, I've said it repeatedly in my videos about this thing, that yes, there is entirely a possibility that this thing might provide some sort of benefit. But that's not what Audioquest says. Guys, I'm not talking about you. I don't know how people take these things so personally. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the manufacturer. The fact that you chose to buy this is on you. I don't care that you bought this. That's your money. I'm more concerned about the company making, vague commentary and then promising certain things that simply do not bear out in tests audibly. So, my concern about all of this was, they don't say that this thing should be used only with USB ports that are noticeably noisy to you. That's not what they say. Their blanket statement is that all USB ports are inherently noisy and they lose data, they'll add jitters and all that sort of stuff. So use this. This solves the problem you never knew you had. And so you go out and you spend $60 on this, and then you plug it in and nothing happens. Let's say you already went out and bought the Cobalt and you decide to buy this. And you plug this thing in, and all of a sudden you realize, I don't hear a difference. You go to their FAQ and they say, oh, don't use this. Don't be stupid. Don't use the Cobalt. The Cobalt already has some of the stuff that the Jitterbug has. You don't want to do this. But then my question is, why? Why don't you want to do this? I mean, if you can plug in the Jitterbug into a free USB port and then plug your DAC into a different USB port, why not just put this in parallel? Why? What does this thing do? Is this act like a vacuum cleaner where you plug it into a free USB port and it just sucks up? It just sucks up the jitters and the noise in the USB ports. It just sucks it all up. That's what it does, right? That's the idea, because the USB ports are all connected to the motherboard. And so whatever jitters are inherent inside the computer, they go directly to here. It just sucks it all up. It's like it's like the scene from Spaceballs near the end, where their Star Destroyer type thing turns into MegaMaid, and it starts vacuuming up the atmosphere of the planet. This is what it does. This is MegaMaid. I mean, it just kind of sucks it all up, and it did nothing. Now, maybe it took up a little bit of resonance, it took up a little bit of noise, a certain frequency of noise. It's entirely possible it did that. I can't rule that out. But I cannot say that I heard it because I didn't hear it. And that's the point. That is the point. That you spend $60 on a device, you damn well better be able to hear the $60 device. You better be able to hear the difference. Otherwise, it's all in your imagination. If you cannot audibly hear the difference, and more specifically, if you cannot point specifically to what the change is, then this thing is of no use to you. It cannot be of any use to you. It's a total dud. Companies will say words like measurably reduces jitter, unwanted noise currents, and parasitic resonances. Well, you can measure, like I said, almost anything. If it's a real number, it can be measured. But you can't hear almost everything. In fact, we hear very narrow band, incredibly narrow band. And so this might eliminate some noise, some jitter, whatever, in the 30K. Or the 500 or the 5 hertz frequency range. You may not be able to hear something up at the 30K. In fact, you will not be able to hear something up to the 30K. The vast majority of people can't do that, if any. 500, you'll probably be able to hear it, right? That's within our hearing limitations. And 5 hertz, you can't hear it. It's not going to happen. So you might be able to hear it in 500, not be able to hear it in 5 hertz, won't be able to hear it at 30,000 hertz. So if it does something in any of those things, if it's doing something in either of the extreme ends where you can't hear it, then it's of no use to you because you can't hear it. Now, some people might say it's just the feeling that you get. Okay. That's your feeling. I'm not going to chastise you for having a feeling about a product. That's totally fine. That's great. Go out and buy this, spend $60, get a feeling out of it. Cool. Your money. But for those individuals who are not driven by emotion, I would suggest that you take your $60 and put it in your pocket and don't waste it on this. This does nothing. We've done 3 tests now. Just in today's video. We did this in parallel. No difference. We did this in series. no difference. We did this in parallel with the red, no difference. We did this in series with the red, no difference. We did the iFi with parallel, no difference. We did the iFi in a series, no difference. So 3 different tests today. 0 difference in any of them. I plugged them into the front of the USB port panel. I plugged it into a USB hub. No difference. Used high-res FLAC files. No difference. So if you are a proponent of items like these, it's on you. It's incumbent on you. It's incumbent on you to justify this. It's not incumbent on me to justify it. I'm not here to justify one thing or another. I'm here to debunk spurious claims. And this is a spurious claim so far. Because if you can't hear it, then you shouldn't buy it. I hope that this has been of some help. Anybody who has been still a little interested in Jitterbug and other things, hopefully these videos give you a little bit more food for thought. You may still end up buying it. It may benefit you. In fact, if you have an extremely noisy environment, perhaps the Jitterbug will be of some help. But you won't know until you actually buy it, because this thing is entirely, let's just say that it's not particularly helpful. If you like my content, if you enjoy what I do, then maybe you'll consider joining me on Patreon. I currently have 11 wonderful, giving, amazing patrons who have decided to give me a little bit of their hard-earned money once a month. If you would like to join their ranks and become part of the Patreon family, I would truly appreciate it. Just a couple of bucks a month from you would help me save up more money so I can do these types of reviews. Well, so I can do these types of reviews and be honest and truthful about my process and what I hear, so that you can have information to make better, more knowledgeable decisions. If you are a regular viewer but you haven't subscribed, hey, think about subscribing. It'd be great for us to reach that 600 mark before the end of the year. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And if you want me to review a product that I currently own, then go ahead and click on that review request form in the description below and fill it out, and I'll get to your request as soon as I can. I hope all of you have a wonderful, amazing, great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.